Alright, welcome to the last Zelda video, at least for a little while. We're going to start a new game after this. But before we do, we got to fix a major problem and show you some really cool coding. Okay, so what happens is we come in here, we grab the sword. Now when I was creating this, I didn't have a master plan. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't plan a database. I didn't plan what was going to go on from screen to screen. But now that we have multiple files representing different screens, we need to pass data between them. We got to be able to keep this cool stuff that you've done. You've unlocked this store, you've gathered a sword, but look what happens. I come here and I take this path, think I've discovered a secret, comes to another file, I go back and leave, and now it starts back over, and I don't have a sword, and the door isn't open. So how do we let the computer know, hey, we did this, don't reload the whole file? So what we're going to do is we're going to create a little bit more logic using something called local storage. Like I said, we don't have a database in the back end. We don't need it for this. We can play in the browser and pass data back and forth. So local storage is a really cool way to retrieve things and save things as you're going from file to file. So what we need to do is we need to come up with a couple things that we want to save. So I'm going to create a variable. It's going to be equal to an object, update, and I just want to think, what are things that I need to know? So if you move from one file to the next, where should my guy be located? Which way should he be facing? Things like that. So we're going to do this object with these key value pairs, and I'm going to do it as if we're just starting the game. So at the very beginning of the game, we're facing right. Our x coordinate is 0. Our y coordinate is 9 down, and that's 40, so whatever that is. And then some other things. Are we going to have a sword? Right now it's false. Does he have a sword? No, he does not. Which direction did he come from? He came from the left. So things like that we'll start with. Now let's say you come up with all that you could think of, and then you start doing the game like, I forgot one. I need to add one. Well, we can add them on the fly. For example, in that main screen, we unlocked these doors and did all that stuff. So we can just make a property, and the way that you update it outside of these curly brackets is we just do the name of the object, update, and then we give it some sort of property, and this becomes the key. We can name it whatever we want. So did we complete the main, meaning did we complete the main screen? Not yet. False right now. Okay, so here we have this object. Great. It's only on this file. Oh, there's another place I need to update. And then we got to make sure that it updates the correct way. So sword is false until we get the sword. So let's go ahead and update that. Where we get the sword. There it is. So we're going to go update.sword equals true. Now we made this local variable just for this file when we first were making it. I'm just going to leave it in there. I don't want things to break, but you wouldn't need this. We would just have to change the code once we get things saved. But anyway, so the sword is now true because we got the sword. That's great. Now when we hit the right screen, it takes us to a new screen, a new file, new HTML. We want to save a few things before that happens so that we can pass it through the browser and then get it in whatever file we're in. So the way that you do that is first we need to update complete main to true. The only way you can get to the right screen is if you got the sword, killed the blob, and opened the path. So we know that they have completed the main if they made it to the right screen. Now pay attention to this next one. So we're going to do local storage. This is a built-in JavaScript command. And then we're going to set the item. So with local storage, you can either set it or you can get it. So we're going to set the item, and we get to name the item whatever we want. We're going to name it data. Okay, so we're going to create this file in the local storage called data. And what is this file, or what am I saving? So I'm going to type something out here that won't probably make sense unless you've done this before, and then I'll explain it. Okay, so JSON, that stands for JavaScript Object Notation. We created an object. That's what this is right here. This is an object. Okay, so we created an object, and we want to turn it into a string. The way that you pass data, an object or an array, from one file to the next is we need to turn it into a string first. And what are we stringifying? Update. So that takes our object, turns it into a string, and stores it in the local storage. Okay, so if I were to save this, and now I need to refresh it because I've added new code, what I'm hoping to show you is very slow. Okay, get the sword. This will be the last time you have to do this, you little man. Oh, that guy's flying. Can I hit him twice? Got him. Okay, we know we have our locked door up there. We know we have our path. And when we hit this wall, it should save our data. Okay, now it's saved in the local storage. So what do we do next? It's saved here because when we hit the right screen, it should have done that line of code. So now we went to the R1, the main, right screen one, or one away from the main. That's how I named it. So what we need to do is we need to now get the item. So the way that works is we're going to create a variable, and I'm going to just call it retrieved data. Is that how you spell it? Doesn't matter. As long as I spell it the same every time, the computer will know what I'm doing. So we go back to the local storage, and now we're going to get the item. And what item are we getting? We're going to get data, because that's what we saved it as. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to take that string and turn it back into an object. And the way that you do that is with a command, a method called parse. And we're going to parse retrieve data. So retrieve data starts out as being set to data. And so now this is set to data. So now we're going to redefine it as an object that has been parsed from the string. And to make sure that we get it right, let's show it to ourselves. Retrieve data. Okay, so we got it from the storage. We turned it back into an object. Now I want to look at it. So if I save this and come up here and I hit refresh, the data was stored in the local storage. So now if I come here, look, there it is. There is our object. Pretty sweet, huh? Okay, so we have our object saved. Now what do we want to do with it? The video will continue on and show you exactly what we want to do with it. Alright, now for the next part. I'm doing these videos in segments. Makes it a lot easier for me to keep the information in my head. Okay, so we have the object, it's showing, great. Now, what is this level all about? Well, I made it pretty simple. Right now I just have one thing. It makes this key when you step on that button. Can't do anything with the key yet, so we need to be able to get the key, save it in the storage, and then leave and update all that information in the object so that when we leave, we can show up in the right place and we can do what we want so that they don't have to redo that whole main screen. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. Here we go. So we are in main R1. We've grabbed the data, and you'll notice when Sean steps on that button, then it creates a key, but nothing happened when we hit the key. So that's what we need to do. So we have an on hit between Sean and, and the key, and it creates a function. Booyah. There we go. Okay, first thing we want to do, destroy the key. As soon as you get it, it's yours. It doesn't even be in the game anymore. Okay, the next thing we want to do is we want to go retrieve data. Notice I added an R during that break. I realized I spelled it retrieved data. It's now retrieved data. Now we need to create a brand new property, right? So you've seen one way to update it. Key isn't a part of this. That's okay. It'll just add to it. So what we'll do is we're going to go key, and I'll use this notation from here on out. So we have a new property called key, and it is now set to true because we got the key. Perfect. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is we need to hit the left wall. So when Sean hits the left screen, it's going to create a function, and there we go. Okay, so when he hits the left screen, we got a ton of stuff to update. First, I'm going to do it in an if statement just so you can see what that would look like. So if data.key is true, or retrieve data is true. Okay, that means we have the key. If you don't have the key yet, then we're not even going to allow you to leave. We're going to have that screen stop you. But if you do have the key, that's great. Let's update a whole bunch of properties. So the first one we need to do is face, right? Which way is he facing? He's walking left. So we're going to update that to left. Okay, the next thing we need to do is what coordinate does he need to come in at? So he needs to come in at X, and it's all the way on the right. So we're going to say 24 times 40. That's the maximum you could be on the X side before you'd hit the wall, and then he would just sit and bounce between because, anyway, it doesn't matter. So, and then retrieve data on the Y side. How far down is he? Well, he is 8 times 40. I know this because I've tested it. Okay, and then we also need to know which direction are you coming from. And you are coming from the right. Remember that. Okay, he's coming from the right. Last, let's go ahead and go into the local storage, and we're saving it. So the way that you save it is you do set item. And what are we setting? whatever we want. We're going to call it data, so it overrides that data and updates it. It'll basically just override it, and so it'll have the current information. And we're going to pass it because we need access to this object, so we need to stringify. Stringify the retrieved data. Oh yeah, this looks great. Oh, and then we need to leave. Location equals main.html. Okay, so let's do that. Great. So let's refresh. We go and get the key. We have the key, and now we leave. Okay, it started the level over because we haven't told it to do anything yet. But let's piece by piece take stuff out of the stored data and get it to work. So what we need to do is first let's get this path to show up in this locked key because we have that property completed main. So we can do that. So let's go into main now. And very first thing we need to do is, well, we already typed this out once, so I'm just going to copy and paste it. Oh yeah, let's console log it too, so we can see everything we have. All right, so first we need to get the data, and we need to parse it back into an object, and then let's take a look at it. So if I come here, hit refresh, let's take a look at our data, hit console. Come on, don't fail me now. Ooh, look at all this data. There's a whole bunch of stuff. Okay, so we updated face left. Look at these X and Y coordinates, directions right. We have a key. Completed main is true. Hopefully you can see that in this little video. But completed main is true. That's what we're going to key in off. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to kind of do a roundabout way of doing this. So completed main is no longer false. It is true. So I'm going to come, let's just do it right here. We're going to create a little if statement that says if retrieved data dot, what am I thinking here? Retrieved data dot completed main is equal to true, then let's run a function called complete. Okay, so there we go. We're going to run a function called complete, and now let's create that function. If we had planned this out from the beginning, we would do this a little bit different. But on the fly, this will work great. We can just reuse some code. So because we have already we've already created the path, everything's already saved in these local arrays and stuff, let's just come up here and grab this stuff and just say, instead of waiting for you to kill the blob to run it, if main is completed, let's just run that code now. So I'm going to tab back out to make it nice and formatted, and this looks good. Okay, so if I save it, what I'm expecting to do is my guy will still be on that left side because we haven't told him to do anything, but locked door shows up and the path should be there. Perfect. Okay, so completed main has happened. This stuff will appear right away when you enter this file. Okay, the next thing we need to do is we need to manipulate that data we got. So where is Sean? Okay, you can see this is hard-coded. Let's use this image. We're going to move into that spot. That's all hard-coded. I'm not going to mess with it. I'm going to leave it. But I am going to add an if statement. Now notice the if statement is below these properties so that it will override them. Okay, so the way we're going to write this if statement is it's going to be kind of long. If retrieved data dot completed main is equal to true, and retrieved data dot direction is equal to right. Because remember, you could come from the top, you might come from the bottom. So I only want to run this if statement if you've completed the main file and the direction is right. You came from the right. So if that happens, then we're going to go Sean.move to, and we're going to go retrieve data.x and retrieve data.y. Okay, pretty simple. Expected that to turn blue for some reason, but we'll see if it works. It should work. And then we need to set his image. Okay, this is what's going to be a little bit goofy. So we're going to go images, and then we're going to plus retrieve data.face, and then we're going to add to that PNG. So I believe the face was, what was the face? Our face is left, so yeah, that's correct. So that will mean this will get replaced by left, so it'll be images left.png. Okay, so if I save this and hit refresh, oh, I think he may have started too far back. There he is, he came on in. So we're there, and the path is there and everything. It's as if we just left that screen. I am going to move him, let's see here, oh, retrieve data. where do we update that X? That's in the main file. I'm going to make this 23. And watch this. Let's go back into this level. I just updated that to 23. The key still shows up. And the sword would show up here. There's our guy. I actually think it worked. It just, because I'm in doing this move, the sword would still show up, and this level would still run. We could add some if statements to do it, but now you don't have to complete this stuff anymore to do that. And there we go. Now, we have the key, and we have the sword, but we can't get through the door. And we want the sword to work in every level. So if I come over here, and I push the A key, sword doesn't work. Okay, that'll be the next section. Okay, so as we were talking about, I can't throw the sword in here, but we have the data to throw the sword, because if I hit inspect, look at our beautiful object, sword equals true. We can key off of that. Okay, so here I am in this file. Let's find that area. We don't care about has sword equals true. We want retrieve data dot sword. So if we have the sword and we can throw it, let that baby fly. There we go, it flies. Okay, so we have the sword, it's thrown there. It doesn't throw in here because we haven't gathered the data. It doesn't think that well, it's a different if statement, that's why. So if I come into here and I look for the A key, it's wanting has sword to be true, but when we load the file, has sword is false till you get it, but we've already got it. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a simple OR statement within an if and statement. So we're going to do the same thing. Retrieve data dot sword is equal to true, and you can throw it. So this is saying if either one of these are true, either you have the sword is true or retrieve data dot sword is true, then this passes, and then if can throw is true, you can have the sword. So if I hit refresh, boom, there's the sword now. Okay, so we can throw the sword, that's great. Now one thing that I forgot was this will be the first file you ever open to, and this is going to cause an error. The reason it didn't right now is because retrieve data already existed, so we were able to pull it out and get it from the local storage. But if it doesn't already exist, we have to change this into an if statement. So we're going to say if retrieve data exists, then set retrieve data equal to JSON.parse. Otherwise, retrieve data is equal to a brand new object that's empty. Okay, so this little if statement, I'll show you at the end how to clear the cache and play the game from the beginning, and that will make sure that it handles it the right way and we don't error out right when we start. Okay, so the next problem is, the next thing we need to solve is we can't get through this locked door even though we have the key. So if you come down here, what's actually stopping us is 5 is set to treetop. So I'm going to set it to locked because we're going to handle it a little bit different where it will work both ways now. Yep, and the door is called locked. So that's the on hit we need to build. So right here, where we hit the right screen, we are now going to do an on hit between Sean and locked. Right there. Let's make a function, x, y, and we're off and running. Okay, so what needs to go in this function? First off, we got to find out if we have the key. If the key is true, you could either do that as true like that, or if you just leave it, it means the exact same thing. So if they have the key, run the code that we'll put between the if statement. If not, then let's stop you from going on further. Okay, perfect. Okay, so now we got to do all of this updating stuff. So retrieve data, we need to update the face. So remember, we're hitting locked, that locked door, which is the same as hitting the up screen, but since it's already stopping us, we'll just do it when we hit the locked door. And we're going to move into the next level, the next screen, whatever we want to call it. So our face, remember our face is actually our image. And if you look over here in our images, we use the image named back, which means we see the person's back, which means he's facing up, so the face is back. Sorry that that's correct, because it should be something different to make it intuitive. Okay, so then the x coordinate will be 12 times 40. Already done the math. Retrieve the data, and it's going to be y coordinate. When we move to the top screen, it's going to be 18 times 40. And then retrieve the data, and our direction is we're coming from the upside. Okay. And is that it? Nope. We need to save. So local storage dot set item. And we're going to set the data. And yes. JSON.stringify. So we need to turn our object into a string. And what are we turning into a string? Retrieve data. Oh, and then we have to move the player. Window location is equal to main u1.html in quotes. Okay, so if we look at this main u1, I've already finished this file. This file is perfect. It's ready to go. We just needed to pass the data to it when we moved there. And the last thing we need to do is, let's say we come back. We're just going to make another if statement right here that says if retrieve data.direction is down. So if it's coming, no, from up. Ooh. If you're coming from up, I hope that makes sense. I can't tell myself if it makes sense. Well, then let's move you to retrieve data.x. This is actually going to be the exact same. Let's copy and paste this. Okay, so that should allow us to come back into the file from the up position. This is getting crazy. So let's refresh. Here we go. I can throw the sword, and I should be able to move through this locked door. I'm in the locked door. It's trying to load and also film. And here we have a major blob and all his blob buddies. This is the last level. I didn't do any on hits apparently. You guys can do that. So there you go. So that is how you pass data. Notice I can throw the sword. You can throw the sword in any level as soon as you get it. Let's see if when I go down if that works. Yes, and now I'm back into here and everything looks swimmingly. You can't go this way. We haven't made a file or any on hit for going that way. And there you go. Okay, so that worked perfect. So how about we now, oh man, that'll trigger faster in the real game. It's because, oh man, I've lost my guy. There he is. No, there he is. Okay, it's going so slow. Okay, so one thing I want to show you is, great, you're playing the game. I want to try it from the beginning, like without everything already stored. How do you get rid of it? You could clear cache, but you got to clear your whole cache. So what you can do is you can come into Inspect Element, and you can click on Console, and then you can type in local storage.clear with parentheses right there. Hit Enter. There was not supposed to be that slash. Hit Enter. Now look, everything is undefined. So now if I come here and hit refresh, you'll notice I'm right back at the beginning. So now you can play it from the start like I'm going to right now. This was the last of the Zelda games. I'm going to move on and do a new game next time. We'll have fun with it. If you have any ideas, hit me up, let me know. But I just want to run through this game and make sure it all works. Please let me shoot him. Oh, it's painful playing it in video mode. And if you guys are still watching, congratulations. Okay, so we come up this path. We go into this file. We get the key. That's all there is in here. We come back. And we go through the locked door. And we fight this guy, but there's nothing to fight. And he spawns all these people. Cool. Okay, hope you guys enjoyed that. If you go to our website, I will be posting this video, and you can share it with your friends. I have a new button right here, Classic Game Coding Demo. It'll be posted right here. Here's all the other demos we've done of previous Zelda games and previous all sorts of games, and I'm going to keep making them. We're going to keep having fun. Okay, thanks guys. Hope you enjoyed it.